Welcome to the Middlesex Moments Radio Show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College, and joining me today is Steve Minkler, our new academic dean here at the college. And we're going to be talking about just about anything we feel like talking about, which is the way this radio show generally runs. But where I want to start, because we have to start somewhere, is that Steve has a background in communications, which is kind of perfect for a radio show. So if you would sort of trace that path for us. How did you get here?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to be at Middlesex Community College at this point in the college's history, and with you on board, Anna, as the new president, it's I got a real sense that the college is going to be going places, so I'm happy to be here and be a part of that. Yeah, my background, my first 2 degrees are in communication, and I spent the first 20-odd years of my career doing communication and instructional media. So I got into higher education by way of having a position at Capital Community College in Hartford. At Capital, we did instructional media such as videos and websites, printed publications, slideshows back in the day, PowerPoints, that assisted faculty members with the instruction, what they did in the classroom. I used to joke that I could have gotten probably 10 degrees from Capital based on all that I learned from the faculty such as nursing faculty, history faculty, English, math faculty, by helping them create materials that they and their students used as part of what happened in the classroom. While I was there, I began a degree program in communication media, which still exists today, and there are quite a few students in that program that learn how to produce materials for broadcast presentation. And for a while, we did a television program about the college, much similar to the radio show that we're doing here today.
And did you produce that program?
Yes, I did. Yeah, for about 6 years we produced that program, and it was magazine style in that some of it was produced by the staff in my department, and some of it by the students in our communication program. And we would feature programs at the college, some faculty profiles, student and alumni profiles. And some of it was community-based, because part of what the students had to do in their communication courses was do video stories that were about things that were happening in the Hartford community. Riverfront recapture was a new thing in 2000, 2001, for example, so some students did a project about that. Some other stuff that was related to downtown Hartford. As the college was moving to downtown, we did a lot of features about the old State House, about the theaters that were in downtown Hartford, and trying to link the college to what was happening in the city. So the students made some stories about that, which we tied together through this magazine show that we called At Capital. I served as producer, but also as the advisor to the students who helped us with that.
It was a half-hour program?
Half-hour program.
On local cable?
Well, it originally aired on a community college instructional television, which no longer exists, but it got eventually folded into CPTV's operations. So the community colleges at that time had its own cable channel. Manchester also produced their own program at that time. So we got statewide coverage with this program.
Did it evolve over time?
Yes, it did. We later expanded it to include second shows which featured guest lectures that came to the college, or faculty lectures. So that spawned a half-hour or 1 hour long lecture series show, depending on the length of the presentation. And we also did a series of about 6 or 8 musical performances that occurred either on campus or in the TV studio at the college, and the students produced those. So we had a reggae band, an Irish band, a group of singers who were in period costume from the Renaissance, medieval times, and they did Christmas songs from that period. So it spawned several other projects which were a lot of fun to work on, but it gave our students the real-world opportunity to produce something that was helpful to the college, but also actually got on air. Once the community college TV channel dissolved, we found some other projects that students could work on that gave them the real-world experience. Most notably, some programs or videos that were needed by state agencies for training and promotion, and also a video series that was done by a local producer that aired on Univision, Channel 18 in Hartford. And I think that project is still going to this day, some 5 or 6 years later after we started it.
What was the year that you started these? And why I'm asking that is I wonder if even the technology for taping the shows has changed?
It has dramatically. We started the program in 1997, this TV show, and we wound up the At Capital magazine show in about 2003. and the other projects that I referred to have continued since then. And yeah, we started shooting on old, VHS and 3/4-inch tape, and as digital technology came into play, we were able to transition over to digital video recording. Originally, everything was edited using tape machines. Now it's all done on computer. And that actually made it a lot easier to introduce students to the techniques that are required in communication, much like is done today in Middlesex's broadcast cinema program, where students have the ability at relatively low cost to have some of this kind of stuff at home. A computer and a camera is really all you need. Whereas when I started in college getting my degree in communication, you really needed tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment to do things that were of any quality.
So now we have to take a break, which is always so frustrating, but we will be back, and we've got lots more to talk about. Well, we're back, and today with me is Steve Minkler, the new academic dean here at Middlesex Community College, and we've been talking about the world of video capture, how you work to record things that would be of interest to other people and that you'd want to save over time. We're going to be celebrating our 50th anniversary here at the college in about 3 years, and I keep thinking that we need to start doing some video capture now so we can build toward maybe something like a video time capsule. But let's go back to how you ended up being an academic administrator here in Middlesex. And so you kind of grew up around here, is that right?
Well, yeah, I originally got involved in communication as a student at Haddam-Killingworth High School, which I went to a million years ago. And even back then, they had a program in television production. So instead of having traditional announcements where the principal comes on a PA system, the students with the faculty advisor produced a daily news show, and that's how I got involved with communications.
And that's still going on, because there's a student the other day came to see me who had graduated from HK, as it's called, and she was telling me about that, and that we have video monitors all over the campus now, and in Meriden as well. And she said, we should be doing a news show. And so was there some charismatic faculty member at the high school who had this brilliant idea?
Well, I think the school was built that way because when I went there, I graduated in the class of 1982, and I was, I think, the 5th graduating class. So the school was actually built to support that. They had a studio that, as you said, it still exists today, and they put no traditional clocks in the classrooms. There was a television set which had the clock in digital form on the screen, so therefore you had to have the TV on because it was your clock, and then every day at 7:30 it switched over to the news show. And I think it was the vision of the folks who designed the school at that time, because again, I'm not sure how much is still there, because now as dean I do need to reach out to the schools and find out what's happening. So it's been a long time since I've been to HK, but they had a whole number of vocational programs as well as college prep programs, and the school was designed to be that comprehensive. So I think they had envisioned it always that way.
Do you think that, did it trigger your interest in communication?
Oh, absolutely. It was just something that fascinated me, I guess, as a kid. You can watch stuff on television, and then to be able to actually produce your own stuff, which, again, back then was not common. People didn't have VCRs at home or their own cameras. It wasn't, it was really too expensive back then. So to be able to think that, hey, I could make something that gets on that screen that other people could watch, just was really attractive to me. And from there I was always good at writing and thinking creatively. I'm also a musician, so I think communication was a natural outgrowth of who I was. And so along the way, as I said earlier, I worked at Capital Community College doing that for a number of years, working with the faculty. And some of the other pieces of who I am also came into play, where I was given some assignments such as developing Capital's first strategic plan and helping to organize the communication curriculum there. And I think the college administration saw that I had some talent for organization and writing and public speaking that led me to do many things there, including helping to set up the college's campus in downtown Hartford. The entire college moved from 2 previous buildings to a new renovated facility in downtown Hartford, and I was given the task of working with the dean and the president to design what that space looked like.
That must have been the most remarkable experience. Anybody who's been to that campus, and I say campus, and I don't know if there are other, quote, campuses like that, maybe in Manhattan, that are downtown buildings. I mean, that was a department store, right?
Yes, it was. It was the old G. Fox department store. So people have many fond memories of G. Fox as a store. In fact, my academic dean at Capitol, she remembered buying her wedding dress at G. Fox. And as it turns out, my office, somewhere somebody had a floor plan of what the G. Fox building looked like. So my old office was on the bedding floor, the 10th floor.
So did you feel sleepy all
Yeah,
the time?
exactly, yes.
The aura of all that, the Sleep Easy mattresses. That was probably way before Sleep Easy mattresses
That's true.
made the scene.
But it was quite the task to really envision what that space could look like as a college. And I have to admit, I was against it at first because, part of the feeling was, okay, we're getting this old building nobody wants, and they're going to shove us in this building just to say that they did something in downtown Hartford. But I'm happy to say that I was wrong, and it's turned into a beautiful facility. The architects and the designers did a remarkable job reconfiguring that to really be a college. And part of my role there was to act as the liaison between the faculty and the builders. And it's not perfect. No project is. But to make sure that the faculty and the students had spaces that were appropriate for instruction, how to get a science lab and a nursing lab within the existing footprint of a renovated building was a bit tricky. But trying to make sure that it all worked, that they had everything that they needed with infrastructure, with proper seating and cabinetry and countertops and medical beds and things of that nature. So as you observed, it's one building. But it is still a campus because the way it was designed was that each floor served almost like its own building because it had its own function. So the nursing labs are all on one floor, the science labs are all on another floor, and the media area was all on its floor.
How many floors is it?
It's 11 floors.
So like 11 buildings in a way.
Kind of, yeah. And sort of like Middlesex is set up where there's each building has some specific functions within it, and that's the approach we had to take, knowing that we only had one building to work with, but to make it feel like you could spread yourself out and have to go to different places to find different departments, different functions.
So apart from the support pillars, it was essentially gutted and you could build
yes,
it
it was.
back.
In fact, linking this back to the TV show we talked about earlier, one of my jobs was to do regular video updates of the construction of the building. And that gave the faculty and staff and students a great peek at how it was being built. And there is some video of me wandering around an empty concrete shell. And over time, you'll see, me giving these video tours of walls going up and paint being applied and furniture being moved in. So you spoke about a time capsule for Middlesex. I'm sure, or I would hope, similar video exists here, and I'd be happy with my experience to work with our broadcast folks, the faculty and students here to devise something that is sort of a time capsule look at Middlesex over 50 years. We had that kind of stuff at Capitol. And it was really meaningful for me as we moved out of our previous buildings, we did something of that nature where we had video clips of the faculty, and we tried to find the oldest video we could find. So there's pictures of me way back when, and people who had come and gone and left, and others who had passed on. But it was a really moving tribute that people really appreciated to just sort of close that chapter in the history of the college.
All right, so we'll be right back, and we'll be going down two paths as we talk with Steve Minkler, the new academic dean here at Middlesex Community College. Well, this is Anna Wasesha, the president of Middlesex Community College, and now we're back talking with Steve Minkler, our new academic dean, and I wanted to touch on two subjects. One is just a little bit about faculty offices, and I asked that because, first of all, at Capitol, were there actual physical faculty offices that were built into the downtown site? Yes?
Yeah.
He's nodding to me. You can't see that on radio, but he just nodded. And here, of course, we have just cubicles. And I think we're always trying to figure out how to improve the life of faculty because they are the core of the institution. So I wondered if you learned anything working with the faculty as you were transitioning from those two old buildings of the college to the downtown. Because it's not actually a very common experience that you get to build a brand new campus.
Right.
I mean, we have a few of those here in Connecticut, but that's a unique opportunity. So what was that like?
Well, one of the things we learned was in the old campuses, faculty were either in paired offices, so without walls that went all the way to the ceiling. So it was cubicle-like, but it was still an enclosed office, 4 walls and 2 people in the office, although the walls didn't go all the way to the ceiling. And there were some other offices that were cubicle style. And what we learned from that is, as much as faculty appreciated having roommates, they really appreciated having a private office. And I think, and not just for the sake of saying that you have a private office, but if you think of some of the work that a faculty member does, whether it's sitting and concentrating on preparing for their next series of lectures, or trying to catch up on some reading, or meeting with a student who's in their class or an advisee, there really is the need for some privacy and some quiet time. So we decided in designing the new campus that faculty offices should be private. On the day we moved in, everybody had an individual office. And the way the new building was constructed was that there's an atrium going up the center of the 7th through 11th floors, which brings in a lot of bright light, bright sunshine, which was desperately needed because of the way that building was divided between the college and a private owner. So we didn't have windows on all 4 sides of the building, so this brought in a lot of natural light. Faculty offices were arranged around the atrium, so it was some of the most prime space in the building. But it also made it very easy to find the faculty because of where they were situated, and so you kind of can imagine this, ring of faculty offices going up the atrium. Some faculty were put in group offices where they had a common sort of reception area and private offices off of that. But the philosophy gets back to the faculty needing the privacy for their own work, and at times when they do need to meet with students, and you don't want all other members of your department maybe listening in on something that's happening in your class, and the student may have an issue, that you do want to give them the privacy they need too. I dare imagine that as Capital has grown and they've added faculty, I don't know how well they've stuck to the one person, one office rule. From what I understand, they have, but it's been a challenge to then, every time you add a new faculty member, to create a private office for that person. In regards to Middlesex, I think my tour around the buildings and meeting with the faculty in their own spaces, there is a certain lack of privacy that it would be nice to afford our faculty here. It's difficult to imagine that happening unless we do have a new building project, and certainly the state won't fund an office building. But if we do, for example, get a new science and technology building, we could repurpose existing spaces for offices that are more appropriate to what the faculty deserve.
Share that sentiment. And, so because our time is short, I wish we could do a marathon show here. Let's bridge. I mean, what I'm asking you actually is what kinds of communications happen on a college campus, and much more happens than just simply lecturing in a classroom or leading a discussion in a classroom or guiding a laboratory. There's also faculty advising. The relationship between students and faculty is critical. So I wanted to go back to, what treasures do you go back to that you picked up as a student of communications that you are then able to bring to being an academic dean? What is it you reach back into the past and pull forward?
Well, I think 2 things that really stand out to me. First is, as much as I've been trained to write and create things that disseminate information, that broadcast it in the general word of broadcasting, one of the things I learned was how to be a good listener. And communication really is a two-way street. And I don't mean listener as the audience of somebody who receives a media message, but really how do people listen to one another? And it's impossible for us to have a respectful dialogue about faculty advising, or about a change in our curriculum, or proposing a new curriculum, or establishing a series of goals for the college, unless we really listen to each other and listen to what our needs are, what our aspirations are. So that's completely different from a group of people known as the management coming down and saying, from on high, this is our vision for the college. So I think what I've learned is communication is a participatory process. So we need to be good listeners as well as good disseminators of information when that is appropriate for us to do. And throughout the work that I did at Capital, helping the faculty design materials for instruction, part of that process was helping them simplify the information. And I don't mean simplify in the way of so-called dumbing it down, but what's my role in helping them make what they have to say more understandable, or as what people say today, how do you break it down for somebody? Right. So I think that that's something that I was taught in school, but also have put into practice in my professional life. And it came in really handy doing my doctoral dissertation. So to kind of tie it all back together, you asked me how I got here, and one way was through going back to school, getting my doctorate in education, and studying online instruction, but through the lens of communication processes. So what's teacher style? How do teachers present themselves in an online classroom versus how their students present themselves? And the model I used looked at classroom instruction, but I applied it in online instruction. And again, it gets back to what I just said, is that it's communication is a participatory process that we do need to both speak, disseminate information, as well as listen to others. So as the dean, I think it's highly important. My first month here, I've done nothing but listening, it seems.
I can share that sentiment too, yeah. It's important. I think I think you need to take the whole year, really, and just listen very carefully. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And if I don't do that kind of listening, I really don't know where the faculty and staff and the students are coming from and what their needs are and what their aspirations are for the college. I've been able to hear what they need from me. I mean, I truly believe that even though, yes, I'm the dean and supervisor, manager, that I really work with the faculty. I don't view it as, they work for me, although I do have to do some things that are what a supervisor has to do, but I really work with them, and in some ways I work for them. So how can I advocate for them, whether advocate for them to you as the president of the college, or how do I advocate for them when I go to meetings of our new Board of Regents and the people in Hartford who administer our community and state university system? So, and that's where listening becomes highly important, because if I'm representing the faculty or the college as a whole in some way, I have to have a clear understanding of where the college is coming from in order to do that. While I may have my own opinion, I'm not there representing myself. So that's, I think, the essence of what I've learned from all my years in communication is the listening part of it is much more important than people realize.
I think that's a perfect way to actually start to wind down this particular radio program, because, of course, radio listeners are, have all of their senses are kind of not reduced, but focused on just listening to the story we're telling, which is one of the reasons I absolutely love radio. I hope that we can have several radio programs across the year, because I think this first year, I'm still in my first year technically. First year is a really critical year, and we haven't even touched on what it is that you're seeing now at the college, but my guess is 3 or 4 months from now, what you'll be seeing will be slightly different, or there'll be a little light and shadow around various parts of what you've observed in the first couple of months here. So I am going to draw the program to a close with this stunning announcement, which is we're going to be simplifying URL, which is now Universal Relationship Locator, or something like that. I asked in a previous show what URL stands for. I got the answer, and now it's still a little loose in my mind, so I'll return to that at a later date too, so we'll make sure that all of our listeners know what a URL is. But what it is actually, effectively, is our address on the World Wide Web. And we used to have ComNet in the middle of our address, but we're going to simplify it, break it down, so to speak, and it will now be www.mxcc.edu. The simplicity of that is stunning.
It certainly is, and if it makes it easier for students or potential students to find us, that's a very good thing.
Anybody out there in our listening audience who wants to find out more about the college should go to mxcc.edu and take a look at our new and improved website. And I want to thank you, Steve, for being on the program this morning. I'm Anna Wasesha, the president of Middlesex Community College, wishing you a good day.